Hello, welcome back. I'm sorry about the delay, but hey, if you started after watching the last video, then your forehand counter should be pretty good by now. The prerequisite for starting the roadmap in this video is that you should have reached at least level 6 in the previous video on forehand counter. The backhand counter is a very personal stroke for me because for years I had a very bad, ugly backhand counter with my elbow wobbling weirdly. Here's what it looked like at one point. It's only in the recent couple of years that I have been relearning it and can finally use and rely on it in a math scenario. And in fact, a couple of months ago, someone said my backhand was kire. One of my fears is that I'll wake up one day and go back to playing it the old way. If you had never seen a table tennis backhand action and only knew about the forehand action, what do you think the backhand version would look like? You might think there would be a mirror image of your forehand action, although you can kind of see that in other racket sports like badminton and tennis, the backhand action in table tennis is quite different. Well, for one, the length of the handle is quite different, and also in table tennis, you're not prioritizing for power but rather control. And for some reason, having your backhand be away from your body like this makes it harder to control the angle of your bat. With that, let's get started with level 1. We can skip the bouncing over here because you already got used to the feel of it with the forehand counter. So the first exercise would look kind of like this. Make sure to keep your wrist fixed and not hold the bat too tightly. For the next stage in the wall practice, the action changes a little to resemble how it would look on the table. And again, it's not as easy as it looks, and even if you have been playing backhand for a while, you might find it difficult to get 100 knocks in a row in this exercise. Don't forget that the aim of the counter we're learning is to hit it with a clean contact. So don't impart any spin unknowingly like my friend is doing over here. It might be a good idea to take a video of yourself. Level 2 is visualization. Before we get to the table, look around you and watch players playing the backhand counter. How are their feet positioned and how is their hand positioned in front of their body? Just absorb as much as you can by just looking at people. You can also look at YouTube videos if you don't have players near you. Listen to the sound and the rhythm and absorb all that you can. Once you've done that, try to recall as many things as possible and mimic the motion with just a paddle in your hand. When you're doing this, make sure not to move your wrist like this because that can get a little problematic later on. Take a video of yourself and see if the motions that you are doing are similar to what you saw. Because if you want to resolve the discrepancy between what you think your body is doing and what your body is actually doing, taking a video now and checking it at this stage would be the most helpful. On to level 3 on the table. Start slow and remember that in the backhand counter it is difficult to generate as much speed as your forehand counter. So keep your action short and initially when the ball is slow, you might have to hit it slightly upwards, similar to how we practiced in the first ball practice. Increase the speed slowly and work your way up to 1 rally per second. You can move on to the next stage once you get 100 rallies in a row. It can be a little tricky, and in particular I want to point out two corner cases. One where the ball comes suddenly to your outer extreme. If you don't move your leg towards the ball so that your body is still behind the ball, you might lose control and hit it outside or hit it too high. Another corner case that I want you to be aware about is if the ball comes suddenly towards your middle. There can be a tendency to suddenly flare out your elbows and play it like this. Try to avoid that and instead squeeze in your elbow and shift your body weight to that side. In level 4, hit one ball slightly slower and one ball slightly faster. Once you're able to do this comfortably, you'll see that you're more confident in your backhand, and you can move to the next stage again once you get 100 rallies in a row. As we move on to the next levels, don't forget that as you practice these lower levels, getting to 100 rallies is important. It's something that Fan Zhendong also says.
学的时候，其实更多的是比较专注基本功嘛，不管是正手、反手，会有很多板数的要求。一个是能形成非常好的这种肌肉记忆，再一个我觉得，对于培养自己的兴趣啊，让自己有一种成功的喜悦啊，我觉得都是对打球非常有帮助的。
In level 5, do the drills we did in the last two levels, but instead of just one direction, do it across all 4 directions. Okay, in level 6, you stay in the same place, but you hit the ball in 2 different locations. This is something that is very useful in a match scenario. So as you practice this drill, hopefully you also learn the angle that you need to set in order to properly compensate for where the ball is coming from. On to level 7. Here, you hit the ball to the same location but from 2 different points, and this helps you to practice your footwork and movement. In level 8, we try to play around with the timing in which we hit the ball. Until now, you'd been hitting the ball at the top of the bounce, and in general, you might have heard the phrase that it's always better to hit the ball at the top of the bounce. And I think the logic for that is, if you just take a ball and just drop it and you see it bounce, then near the top of the bounce, the speed of the ball is the lowest, and therefore, if you were to hit the ball, then it would be easier to make contact with the ball at the topmost point. But in this level, we'll play around with that. Try to take the ball as early as possible and see what happens. Take a few steps behind the table and play your backhand counter from there. It can be a little tricky, but personally I think it's a pretty useful skill. As a fun exercise, you can also try playing your backhand from the side. For some reason, when I'm hitting it from the side, I can do it much better with my right hand. Okay, in level 9, you're playing the same backhand counter, but this time, try to improve your accuracy. And instead of just hitting it on the table, see if you can get the ball to get out of the table at various angles, and also at various depths. Level 10 is the backhand smash. A clean contact backhand smash is not a stroke that you see very often, not a stroke that I am very good at, but it would look something like this. The scenario where I find this stroke useful is, let's say I have a high ball on my backhand side and I don't want to pivot to my forehand, then I can use the backhand smash. The next level is a little fun. Now you have the forehand counter and the backhand counter, and now it's time to be able to use both of them depending on the situation. So in the first drill, you hit one ball from the forehand side and one ball from the backhand side. In the next level, you use your forehand and backhand counter, but you also throw in some movement. The following drill is pretty popular, but you don't have to stick to it. You can create your own drills. And the point is basically to practice some movement along with the transition between being able to hit a backhand counter and a forehand counter. if you've made it until here, I would say you have a pretty solid foundation. And now you can even play games with your partner, which is just counter all over the table. In these two videos, we've now acquired a good sense of rhythm, placement, and the feeling of hitting the ball perpendicularly head on. In the next video, we'll finally learn how to impart spin to the ball in one of my favorite strokes, push. With all the possible distractions on the internet, thank you for watching so far. If you find these videos helpful, let me know in the comments below. Until next time.